So today we're going to dive into the timeless wisdom of the 13th century poet and philosopher Rumi. His insights on life, on character, on faith, they're just as powerful today as they were hundreds of years ago. Let's get right into it. Let's just jump right in with one of Rumi's most profound observations. What he's saying here is that deep silence isn't always a sign of weakness. Sometimes it's a sign of an incredible weight being carried on the inside. It's really an invitation to look beyond a quiet face and just wonder about the stories that are hidden there. And that idea? Well, it takes us right into our first big theme, the wisdom of silence. For Rumi, real understanding doesn't usually start by talking, it starts by looking inward. In a world that's always telling us to be louder, to speak up, Rumi offers this kind of counterintuitive idea. He's saying that silence can actually be a form of strength. It's a way to protect your own honor in the middle of all the noise, by choosing your moments instead of just, filling the air with words. Rumi just completely flips the idea of solitude on its head here. He argues that it's not about being lonely or isolated at all. Nope. He sees it as this powerful space for growth, almost like a gym for your character where greatness really begins. So where does a journey like this even begin? For Rumi, the very first step toward any kind of wisdom is actually pretty simple. You have to recognize and accept your own flaws. It's all about being radically honest with yourself first and foremost. Okay, so once we've done some of that inner work, how do we engage with the world? Well, that brings us to our next section, which is all about how we measure character. I absolutely love this piece of advice from Rumi. It's so practical. He says, choose your friends based on their character. Makes sense, right? But for your enemies, he says, measure them by their ignorance, not their malice. And that's a huge distinction. And Rumi keeps going on this idea of genuine connection. He's saying a true friend, a real friend, doesn't care about your status or your money. Their loyalty is to you, especially when you've got nothing to offer but yourself. That, right there, is the real test of friendship. Rumi also gives us a pretty clear guide for what this kind of noble character actually looks like. It's about being kind to everyone and everything. It's about not gossiping or exposing people's faults, using words to heal, not to hurt, and holding back from judging others. It's basically a roadmap for treating people with dignity. And then he offers this pretty stark warning about family. He says, the moment a family can't solve its own problems, the moment you have to bring in an outsider to make decisions, the trust and unity that hold it together, they're already broken. It's a serious reminder to fiercely protect that bond. But look, even the strongest person is going to face hardships. Life is rarely a smooth ride, we all know that. And that brings us to Rumi's advice on how to get through the tough times. Having faith in the storm. This is the question, isn't it? Everybody asks this at some point. Why do bad things happen? Why do we have to struggle? Well, Rumi has a very clear answer for this. For Rumi, the answer is simple and it's direct. He believed difficulties aren't just random punishments. They are intentional. They are a signal from God, and they're meant to get our attention. So what's the signal for? Well, hardship is meant to be a wake-up call. It's supposed to shake us out of our carelessness, out of just coasting through life, and force us to get serious and focused on what really matters. This is just one of Rumi's most beautiful and comforting images. I mean, just think about that for a second. If a higher power takes such delicate care of something as small as a sleeping bird, how could it possibly abandon you in your time of need? It's really an appeal for complete and total trust. So what do you do? Rumi lays out the path forward in a clear two-step process. First, you have to actively let go of the fear and the despair. And then, at the same time, you have to grab on tight to what he calls the rope of faith and trust.
All right, this all leads us to our final big idea, finding true north. This is all about our ultimate purpose, what a well-lived life really means, and figuring out our place in the universe. Now, Rumi hits us with this fascinating paradox. It sounds a little backwards at first, right? But he's suggesting that real power doesn't come from being aggressive or assertive, but from humility. By letting go of your ego, by learning to bow down, you gain this kind of spiritual influence that the world actually respects. So he defines greatness not by, money or power or fame. For Rumi, greatness is a totally internal victory. The truly great person is the one who has conquered their own self, their ego, their pride, and submitted to something higher.
And that's why this inner focus is so important. Rumi's reminding us that the things of this world are fickle. What makes you happy today might bring you pain tomorrow. He's warning us not to put all our hopes for happiness in things that are just, by their very nature, temporary. As we start to wrap this up, Rumi leaves us with this one last thought that it just cuts right to the core. It is a completely natural human instinct to worry about our kids, our legacy, the family we're leaving behind. We spend so much time and energy trying to make sure they'll be okay.
And there it is, the question that turns everything right back on us. After all the worrying about others, Rumi asks, have you taken a moment to worry about your own soul, about what happens to you after this life is over? A final, powerful question to just sit with.